I just wanted to die, and I wasn't really sure how to do it, but I just knew that I did not want to see another day. And
I heard a blood-curdling screech. My mother had found my brother. My brother was only 15. It was the worst day of my life.
hi, I'm Kristen Sacatella, and I am a suicide attempt survivor.
Hello, I'm Christina Howland, and this is my story. Over 28 years ago, my brother, Kevin, took his life at the age of 15.
Starting in about the end of 7th grade, I would say that I started to see some signs and symptoms of what I thought was depression. I didn't think of it as depression at first. I kind of just thought that it was some sort of just a bad day, a bad few days, because back in 2010, 2011, it wasn't exactly, mental health wasn't a thing in society that I knew of. Just played sports, was just focused on school, and just kind of ignored it for a little bit.
Such the athlete. He played hockey and he played soccer. He was an outgoing kid. He was a sophomore and he had everything going for him. He was popular, he was good looking, he was a high honor roll student. My guess is had he finished high school, had he lived and finished high school, he would have been a salutatorian or valedictorian of his class.
8th grade, I was bullied a little bit. People just telling me that I was ugly, telling me that I was fat, and I was probably a really skinny kid. And it just got to me because I always thought of myself as something different than what the other people saw me as. I got into self-harming in the middle of 9th grade, and I always tried to hide it, like I did with my eating disorders. And I played volleyball, so I would cut on my upper thighs so that people wouldn't see. And during practice and games, I'd always be just making sure that my spandex were pulled down, so they couldn't see. We were practicing, and we were just getting into a really, good, game against each other. And I was just really getting into it and stuff, and I actually forgot to pull down my spandex a little bit. So we got into the huddle, and people were just looking at me, and I was really confused. They weren't really just saying anything. I looked down, and they're just my bright red, kind of bloody, just cuts on my legs. And my coach afterward, she pulled me aside, tried to talk to me, asked me what was going on, just because that was the first time that anything like that has ever showed up.
He had been put on what we now, well, today it's one of the highly used antidepressant drugs called Prozac. Back then, though, there wasn't any prescription medications per se like they do now have for migraines. So the pediatrician had prescribed that to him to try. And the one thing that I learned with Prozac and other antidepressant drugs, especially given to a young adolescent, especially like my brother's age, is that it can cause suicidal thoughts and it can cause mood changes. My brother did have some mood changes. We'll never know why he did what he did, then we can only guess that's why, is as a result of the drug.
I was hospitalized 5 times that year in the psych floor. I had 3 overdose attempts for suicide. And so going into detail for 11th grade, Thanksgiving time, I remember I was had my first overdose attempt. So I was in the hospital. I was in CPAP at Strong. That's like the waiting room to go up to the psych floor. I was there for about a week, and I actually didn't get admitted that time because they felt that I was doing well, and I'm not really sure what well means, to anyone like that, but I feel like it was helpful because that week that I spent waiting to go up, I was able to meet some people that were going through some of the same things that I was going through. And that was probably one of my first times that I actually got to connect with people that were feeling the way that I was feeling, and it was different, and I mean, I instantly basically just became friends with him because we had something similar to talk to.
He did have a friend that was accidentally shot and killed 3 months prior. Just kids fooling around with guns. That could have also been an indication, because he was very sad and shook up by that.
And so I had a few more overdose attempts, and I was hospitalized 4 times before the end of May. And my second to last hospitalization it was pretty rough. I got in a pretty big fight with my mom, and I was done at that point, and it was very hard. And I knew that during that hospitalization, like, I didn't want to see another day. And I faked it pretty well to get out of the hospital, and honestly, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. When I got out, I didn't care for anything anymore. I was just tuned out of school. I was tuned out of sports, and I was just tuned out of my own life, and that was pretty hard.
He had kept a bullet, it was a slug, a deer slug, on his dresser. He'd always kept it as like a souvenir. I don't know how long he had it for, and that's what he used.
So I got released from the hospital, and I just remember thinking to myself, there's a bridge kind of near my house, there's a bridge and over an overpass, and I thought that maybe I could, just walk there, or take a run there and just kind of see what would happen.
She said that she had heard 2 bangs, and usually when my brother would be in his room by himself, asleep or whatever, lights out, it meant he was suffering a migraine. He wanted complete silence, and usually banging on the floor was an indication for us to let the dog in. We had a German Shepherd at the time.
Before I left, I was actually thinking about jumping off a bridge that day, and I don't remember anything else. And I woke up about a week later in a hospital. I wasn't in a coma. I was just, so drugged up, and, just the severity of some of the injuries that I sustained just made me not remember anything. They drugged me up for the pain and, just things to help keep me alive. And,
well, what she had heard was the gun going off and then his body hitting the floor. She had gone upstairs, and this was around close to 2:30 in the afternoon. I heard a blood-curdling screech.
And I was really confused, and honestly the first thing that came to my mind was maybe a car accident, just a bad car accident or something like that happened. And I asked her, I said, Mom, what am I doing in the hospital? And she kind of just took a deep breath and looked at me, and she said, you jumped off a bridge. And just everything, at the moment just paused. Life just kind of froze at the moment, just because I couldn't believe that happened. And I know that I was thinking about it that day, but I honestly, I thought that I'd be able to stop myself.
I ended up finishing my senior year. It was the worst year, which should be everybody's, a great year for everybody. When you're a senior, you're finishing up, you're looking on to becoming, free in some ways, those who want to get away from their parents and whatnot. To me, it was a year of dread, because I'm like, what do I do now?
I sustained a subarachnoid hemorrhage, traumatic brain injury. I broke my C7 vertebrae. I had a bilateral pneumothorax. I broke a few ribs. I damaged my left renal artery for my left kidney, and they actually had to remove it in February of 2016. They removed my whole left kidney just because it had 7% function left in it. And I broke 3 spots in my lumbar area, my lower back, and I had to do a lumbar fusion surgery. And it all just kind of hit me, and I just, when I woke up and was just able to think clearly, I just knew that there was a purpose for my life. There was a purpose for my life, and I just knew that it was a second chance that was given to me, and I didn't want to waste it. I definitely just, my whole outlook on life changed. I realized that there was something that I was clearly, saved. It's a miracle that I'm alive, and nurses and doctors say it, and my family says it all the time. that, it's a miracle that I'm alive, and, there's something that I'm supposed to do in this life.
As sad as it truly is, there's a lot of mental health that's going on, that plays into it. And these people who either are not on their meds or they're refusing to get the help they want. And they come in again and again and again. And we try to help these people, and I try to help these people the best I can. Sometimes all they want to do is talk. Sometimes all they want to do is be heard.
It's just a turnaround in my life, and I'm grateful beyond words. Every single day I try to live it to the its fullest, because I should have died that day. Just the injuries and the fall, I should have died that day, and I tell myself that almost every day. Today I'm an EMT at Monroe, and I volunteer at CHS for EMT also, and I love it. It's not what I want to do in life, but it's definitely like a middle point for right now, and I love it, just being able to help people and doing stuff that I was never able to do. And I feel like I can just share, just not my experience, but just my love for medicine with people, just being able to treat them and stuff. And I'm going to school at MCC right now for a biology degree, and I want to go to a PA school after that. I want to do emergency medicine for a little bit for PA, and then hopefully orthopedics in the long run.
It took me almost a decade to finally define myself. And I had started at University Hospital in 1996. And I started off as a glorified janitor, I guess you can say. I cleaned the operating rooms. And I did that for a couple years, and they introduced a position for a clinical technician. And in that position, I took care of patients. And I enjoyed it, and I think somebody's trying to tell me something. So, as the saying goes, what hasn't killed us, pardon the pun, has just made us stronger. But Kevin stays with us in our hearts and our minds always. And I just hope that I can continue being the professional nurse that I am. And even through the frustration of seeing the same person come in 2, 3, 4 times even a month, to know they're hurting. They're there because they're not wanting to give us a hard time. They're hurting. And it's something that really needs to be said. And it really needs, more people need to know that these people need help. It can be prevented, and I can only hope that I can be part of that person, one of those people that can help prevent it.
Why I love talking to other people that, are going through, a dark time now. They're feeling depressed now and feeling there's no upside to what they're feeling. What I try to tell them is it's basically a hill, and the upside of the hill is going to be hard, but the downside, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worthwhile, and it's just going to be worth all the time and effort that you've put in. And it's such a good feeling, and just the things that I wouldn't have been able to do if I did die that day. I try to take advantage of everything and every moment.